All right, thanks guys for joining us again for another episode of Black Coffee and Crime. My name is Brandy, and that is Jackie. And on our show, we talk about true crime, current events, and other things, especially things that we find on Al Gore's internet. Um, we like to talk about this. We give our opinion. So if at any time you feel like what we're saying is incorrect or there's information that we need to bring forth, please let us know in the comments. We are more than willing to correct ourselves at any time. So just let us know. However, at all times, you got to be respectful because we're just not going to tolerate it. So we do this because this is something that we like. We're not law enforcement professionals. We didn't go to law school. We just like find stories, research them, and talk about them. For the last 2 weeks, we have been talking about the falsely accused and its impact on the African American community and then the community at large, American community at large. So that was episode 21, part 1, and 21, part 2, because we did get a bit emotional in those episodes, and even more so after the episodes. So we had to split that into 2 parts, but we are going to continue this week. One of the cases that we briefly touched on, but we left it, was the Central Park Five, because we felt like that needed its own discussion because it was big, and it's still a very big case. So we left that for this week. So that's what we're going to talk about this week. But as always, what we do is we start off with the church announcements. So these are announcements as follows. This week's church announcements, everybody's on the sick and shut in list. So keep your prayers up. Surge in COVID cases, especially here in Texas. One day last week, the US, we had the most deaths in a single day. Almost 3,000 people died of the virus in a single day here in the US. So our numbers are climbing while other countries are declining or not even an issue. And I think part of that is because of this American spirit that we have, that we have to be independent. I don't have to do what I don't want to do, and it's tyranny. But, listen, it's not that hard to wear a mask. You don't have to wear it all the time. Just,
when you're around people, just wear a mask. I have a friend that's visiting from Boston, and she came and visited me the other day, and she was like, y'all living it up here in Dallas. She was like, in Boston, we can't be doing all this that y'all are doing. She was like, Dallas is just moving along freely, like nothing happened. And she was like, people aren't wearing masks. I was in Target. They don't wear no mask. And I'm sitting here like, what? Nobody? I was like, yeah, Dallas is living it up pretty heavy.
Well, I went to Target a couple weeks ago and I was on the phone. So I was just sat in the parking lot for like 45 minutes on the phone. Then I finally got out the car and I forgot to put on my mask. And so the little girl was looking at me and I was like, why is she looking at me funny? And I was like, oh my God. And I went to go leave the store to get a mask. And they're like, no, we have one for you. And I was like, oh, well, what's people complaining about? Like, they will give you one just so that you can be safe and everyone else around you can be safe, which, I mean, I know you walk around in Target for hours and hours on end, but that just means that you're going to spend less money if you don't want to wear that mask. So you just get in and get your ass back out. So,
and I'm guilty of being the person who consistently gets out the car, walks halfway to my destination and go, God damn it, that mask.
Yes.
So I go around and go back. I am consistent.
I usually hook it on to, when I get out, I just kind of hook it onto my ear and, put it on. But that day when I was distracted and I got out of the car. So, just be safe, wear your mask, load up on your vitamin C because it is approaching winter. So this is when people catch colds in the normal flu season. Wear your mask, load up on the vitamin C, drink plenty of fluids, stay indoors, stay warm. Drink your elderberry syrup, take some lozenges of zinc, whatever it is, do that so that you do not have to go to the doctor. So yes, everybody's on the sick and shut in list, so keep prayers up. Again, the prison ministry has been uh, restricted indefinitely for various reasons. So no with the prison ministry.
Not the prison ministry.
We trying, but we just think. All right, so that is all for the church announcements. Please obey your ushers and govern yourselves accordingly. For a little while, we haven't really been doing anything off of Al Gore's internet because we've had bigger issues with elections and stuff. But we got something for you this week.
Yeah.
Okay. Briefly, I do want to talk about a case that I saw today about Casey Goodson, a 23-year-old man from Ohio, from Franklin County. The sheriff mistook him for a fugitive and fatally shot this man in the back. They shot him 3 times. He was on his way. He had gone to a dentist appointment, was on his way home from lunch, and he had a sandwich in his hand. And apparently they mistook the sandwich for a gun. I don't understand a sandwich. I don't understand how
it's oval.
That
it's long cylinder.
No matter where you're getting it from. Yeah. So that was out of Franklin County, Ohio. If you're serving a fugitive warrant, you should know who you're approaching. But as we learned in the Breonna Taylor case, they just shoot first.
Yeah.
And they shot him in the back. So clearly, where was the threat there? Because even if he has a gun, he's away from it. Yeah. Okay. So that was, I saw that this morning, and I just decided that we needed to go ahead and mention that. So that is Casey Goodson out of Franklin County, Ohio. Now, 2 things happened this week. Big thing that is all over social media. And that is the manager was he the manager or the owner?
He's the owner.
The owner of
Kevin is the owner.
Cocktails in Dallas, Texas, completely lost his shit.
Yep.
He said, shut the music off. I'm talking. Y'all about to listen to me today. So apparently True Kitchen is the waiting list is through March.
Yes.
To get a table. Upscale. Dallas has a lot of restaurants, and I'm quite sure during this pandemic period, it's even more of a rush to try to get into a place like this. And he had some patrons in, and apparently these women were very happy to be outside. And they started dancing in the window of his upscale joints. And he told them, hey, excuse me, can y'all stop? Second time, hey, remember how I just come over here and said that don't be dancing and twerking in my window? Third time,
he lost it.
He basically said that he created this restaurant to be a nice upscale place for Black people so that we could go and have dinner and drinks and discourse and conversation and just have a good time, and this be a safe place. And they were twerking in the window. So it created like a social media storm about
debate. It was definitely debated.
What he said, how he said it, and is that a fair expectation for people, for there to be music playing, and for people not to dance? So I just want to ask you, Jackie, like, what do you feel about what he said, the tone in which he said it, and then, because part of the argument, the debate is, Well, we're Black. We dance at everything, and we should be able to do that. So what do you think about that?
I actually saw both sides. Originally, I was like, well, I'm going to be on his side because as a Black, as you as well, as a Black business owner, I kind of understand. This is my place of business. This is how you're going to behave. And let me first go off and say that even though I understand both sides, she had no business with her grown self standing on that man's couch with her hands on that window, twerking in his establishment. Because I'm going to tell you what I would have did. I would have acted the exact same way, except for he was kind enough to give her 2 warnings. So I probably wouldn't have behaved that way. However, I also understand how other people felt about his tone because it does come off a little harsh. But other than that harshness, and I also saw a video leading up 30 minutes leading up to that. I understand that they waited for 2 hours and he was feeding them drink. I understand all that. That don't even mean nothing to me.
But it's True Kitchen and you already knew. And I'm not sure if they actually had a reservation or if they were just on a wait list. So I don't know
either. I didn't know either. But and I saw the people that were dancing. It was the vibe and there was.
Yes. Yes. Like now I want to go.
I can't wait to go. I'm going to figure.
I don't care if it's April or May. I want to be on the list.
I want to be on the list. I mean, it didn't shake nothing about my feelings about it. I'm still going. But you have no business. Do they know, like, because I know, I don't know Kevin very well, but I know of his, somebody he works with, his business partner. And I know they put a lot of work into that business. And for you to think with your heels on, you could stand on my couch and put your hands on the window and then get an attitude with me when I tell you, because that's what sparked it, is their attitude of talking back. And they're not listening. That's what sparked him to say, yeah, the way he came off was a little harsh. He maybe shouldn't have screamed, but I still understood because I would have been pretty much the same way because I'm not professional. Not professional. I would act ignorant.
I applaud him for giving them fair warning.
Yeah.
Because it as a business, you just set your expectation like, hey, this is a restaurant, whatever. The third time, I would have invited them to leave immediately. Thank you so much. Here's your ticket. Pay the lady. Tip your waitress. Thank you so much for your patronage. But at this time, we don't need this type of behavior here. But I think he was at his wit's end because it couldn't have been the first time that he had experienced that type of behavior in his establishment. Now, I hadn't heard anything about that, but I'm just saying the way he lost it,
right?
You would assume that this wasn't the first time.
His choice of words may let you know that it wasn't his first time.
Yeah, it's one of his first rodeo with this.
It was starting to become continuous, and he needed to set the record straight. You know.
As far as his tone, we grown. Y'all in a restaurant and a cocktail bar. You grown. You could take it.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of that were like, well, he didn't have to use that tone. So you have to. You're doing something wrong in my place, and I have to address you like, since when?
Oh, that would have been, my tone would have been way worse.
Girl, you know how I would address it. You two right here?
Let me tell you something.
I'll let y'all for a second. Let me get you guys over here. But I would have invited them, given them I told the waitress, get their check. I'm going to take that check over there. They are going to pay for their food. I'm not comping anything, and they have to go. There was another video of a diner. She had her back to them and to the owner, so she kept turning around and looking, but she caught most of it, and she's enjoying her food, but you could tell that she was just a little bit like bothered by it. And I'm sorry, if I'm at a strip joint, I expect to have a little ass in my wings. I've been to a strip joint and have eaten a whole plate of wings and everything else and nachos and drinks and stuff, and the strippers are all over the place, and I'm just like, excuse me, let me get that flat right there. But I'm at a strip club. If I'm at a regular club, I expect you to dance and to do whatever you want to do. But if I am paying those type of prices to sit down and I waited that amount of time, either on a waiting list, outside, or as a reservation, I expect to have a dining experience, not to eat. You go to Denny's,
especially if you on the waiting list,
right?
And you finally got in there, because that waiting list has been long since it opened.
You know,
I've been trying to get on opened.
You know, there are certain places, and maybe some people haven't been, and I'm not saying some people based on race. I'm just saying some folks. Some people have never had a dining experience. You go to Denny's to eat. You go to the Waffle House to get a bite to eat. You go to places like True Kitchen to have a dining experience. You go to McCormick and Schmick to have a dining experience. When the Palm was in West End, you go to the Palm to have a dining experience.
Right.
And you would not dare go into Ruth Chris and twerk in the window.
So good.
But why would you do that at that man's restaurant just because he's playing music that caters to our community?
Thank you. That was also something they were like, well, the music, and if it's for the culture, then he should know that our culture. You mean to tell me just because you're here to throw the ass to the circle, you have to twerk on somebody's food?
Man,
no.
Man.
We all know how to. No.
You remember the episode of The Cosby Show when Claire and Cliff were table dancing?
Mm-hmm.
Do that. Yes, we do move. We hear music, we hear drums, and we move. But move in your seat, love.
Simple.
Move in your seat. I've even seen people at upscale restaurants get up and dance, in the aisle. But the dancing wasn't twerking. And, that's kind of splitting hairs. But
that's a difference.
And it's inappropriate. I don't want you shaking your ass while I'm having my food. This is not the Waffle House.
Because they were playing, that's what a lot of people were saying, well, everybody else was dancing. Well, first of all, they were doing the wobble. The wobble where there was literally a group of people in the aisle that's separate from everybody. They were all doing a simpler wobble. Then there was some, I want to say some AKAs doing a little thing, But
you're standing on a chair and you're in the window. This is not Bourbon Street in the red light district. It's not. Come on, people. Come on. Just
don't give them another reason. Please don't give people another reason.
It's just inappropriate. And I'm just like,
don't do that.
This is, if you want the hip hop trap brunch, then go there. But True Kitchen is not that. So you gonna mess it up for the rest of us, because if they close, I ain't never gonna be able to have no damn drink down there.
And I already heard it was the bomb down there. So and I heard you can walk in.
Did you make a reservation? Did you
just walk in already? No. I thought when this happened, everybody was gonna cancel it. It seemed like more people went and tried to get
know what that food is.
So whether he knew it or not, I think it kind of drew people in, because
I'm definitely intrigued.
I can't get in, but like I said, you can just walk in and go to the bar.
If there's a cancellation and to see if you can get in.
Oh no, you can walk in and go to the bar.
Oh.
And then also during the weekday, I got a lot of people that already did reservation, has been 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. What they do is they go into the bar, mm-hmm. or they go when as soon as it opens. Because when it opens, they don't have many people that make the reservations at 1 and 2. So during the week, people just walk in at 1, 2, get them a table.
All right, we're gonna have to
try some.
Yes. Well, I'm off on Mondays, so I don't know if you're off on Mondays.
You said Monday?
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna set it up.
We're gonna try. Go. Yes, and then we'll give y'all the rundown of what True Kitchen is all about. Okay. Yeah. So another thing that would hit social media was this lady did a live with this guy named Kevin Samuels. Now, apparently Kevin Samuels is an advice guru, something guy. I had never heard of this guy before, but apparently he gives really harsh advice. She went to him and she asked him, Like the conversation was, she was telling him what kind of man she was looking for. And she was saying that she was looking for a 6-figure guy. And she just felt like average dudes were, not what she was looking for, kind of beneath her. If I tell you, the way that he tore her to shreds was embarrassing.
On live?
Yes.
Let's see.
I sent you the video. It's like 7 minutes long. I will post that video to Black Coffee and Crime on Facebook. It's all over Instagram as well. People are talking about it. People having like discussions about what he said to her and his tone. Again, with the tone. We are adults, people. Why can't we take tone? I don't get it. Like, people were like, his tone was off. First of all, from what I've heard about Mr. Samuels, he is a beast all the time for male and female. And then they're going with this man versus woman narrative, the same thing they were doing with True Kitchen, an attack against women. Listen, if a woman is acting up on aisle 3, damn it, there's a cleanup on aisle 3. Like, we can't keep pushing this culture that I can say what I want to say, and then if I don't like the tone, then it's an attack against women. Mm-hmm. If you did something wrong or something inappropriate, it is what it is. I'm sorry. It is what it is. It was in the dancing at True Kitchen was inappropriate. Don't at me. I ain't changing my mind. I said what I said. So in this chick, I don't even know her name. Which I should, but I don't. But she basically asked, it's like, what does she need to do? And he told her, you're gonna die alone because you
sounds accurate.
Are barely average, is what he told her.
I can't wait.
And a 6-figure man don't want no baby mama. An average looking baby mama. Because I think she has 3 kids or something like that. Now, she's not uneducated. She's an educated woman. She has a nice job, so she draws a nice salary. Another thing he told her, but she lacks self-confidence. He asked her to rate herself on a scale of 1 to 10, and she could not use 7. You know what she rated herself?
A 5.
A 5.
Oh,
and then a 6 when she's made up.
And you want a 6-figure dude?
Sis.
It's not even a 6-figure dude. This is take that off. You have a list. You're not even confident enough to carry out the list. So, which means that you would never find a guy anyway because you're not even confident enough to look for those things.
Come on with me. He also tells her that besides the men in her family and her immediate circle, she doesn't know any men of that stature. So how are you going to meet those men? You don't know those men. Like, you don't orbit with them. So, and that's true of any circle. Any man that you're wanting to attract or any people that you're wanting to attract, if you're not in their circles or in their orbit, how do you expect to meet these people if you don't put yourself in where they are?
That's the word.
Not her looks notwithstanding. It's her confidence that won't get her in the room with the people that she wants to be in the room with. Because if I'm making 6 figures or more or better, I don't lack confidence for anything. Right. No, I don't lack confidence in my current tax bracket. Mm-hmm. So don't mess around here and give me another 0. It's going to be in my face all the time. So she just lacked confidence.
Yes.
But he told
I was
her
just to
she
say,
was
that's actually one of the questions. Like, does she even hang out with these type of people? Like, is that
no,
her typical crowd
no.
or?
She was just saying that that's what she wanted, and how did she get there? Like, how does she achieve that? Um, and basically, he said you are average at best, but that's what she told him. I'm a 5, and then I'm a 6 when I made up. First of all, sister, let me tell you something. If you start off at a 5 and you put your good draws on,
Not the good draws.
your good draws, and you use the Lubriderm lotion, a good kind,
Mm-hmm.
and you put your good makeup on, you dust your face with some powder, put some lipstick on and all that, and you only elevate yourself one level, sis, go take all that shit back off
Mm-hmm.
and do it again.
Yes, because that's the problem right there.
Do it again. Because it is not even what you look like that didn't elevate. What you saw in the mirror to yourself didn't elevate. So you need to start all over again because you missed something. You missed something. So if you tell these people that I'm a 5, why am I talking to you?
Well, what we gonna have in common?
Because you're average. You're telling me that you are right there.
In the middle. Mm-hmm.
You can't have an elevated conversation because you're average. You can't do this because you're average. You're telling me that you're a 5. He said, rate yourself.
Could be.
So a friend of mine he put that question forth on his Facebook page. He's like, rate yourself, can't use a 7. I said, I'm an 8 when I wake up. And a 9.5 or 10 if I put my good draws on and a good lipstick.
Better know it. I don't care what this bio. Well, first of all, if you can't think highly of yourself,
Who else is going to?
even without my makeup on, I'm still going to say I'm a solid 8. I don't care what nobody thinks.
Cat Williams said, self-esteem is esteem of your motherfucking self.
Yes.
So I guess she was looking for this man. From this man, she was looking for validation. Baby.
There's so many women too. It's not just her. I know so many women.
Do not.
They got this book long list of expectations of who is supposed to do this. We're talking 150 rules. Can't do this, can't do that, have to have this, gotta make that, gotta
But what
do
do
this.
you have to match
And
that?
then you, not that a 9 to 5 is not horrible. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you don't even bring 20% of that. So if you can't bring 20%, why are you expecting
that from someone else? And one thing that I think about men with money is that men with money don't necessarily expect their partner to bring that amount of money, and they really don't care.
Mm-hmm.
What they want is elevation. I want to know that when I take her somewhere, she is my showpiece. She is the representation of everything that I have. She's beautiful. She walks in like she's beautiful. She talks beautiful. She gonna wrap up this business deal for me that I didn't even know that I had because she just hustled our way into a door that I didn't know was even cracked open.
Okay, there it is right there.
But if you're average, you're not gonna talk to the people, the CEO at the table or at the bar because you're average and you didn't see a way to elevate yourself and to elevate your man.
Because it's an enhancement.
Right. So
women
that 6-figure, 7-figure man is looking for an enhancement. And if you feel that you don't even enhance yourself, what you gonna do for me?
That baby said a 6 with makeup on.
Girl, what?
It's not a 6. A 6? This. No. No, don't even have a list. If you stopping at a 5, 6, don't have a list. Just go balls in. Just take it as it goes.
Take what you want. Take what's available. And I'm not saying that she has to do that. And I'm not saying that any woman that is not Halle Berry or Beyonce beautiful, because that's not the way the life works. They not even that beautiful. They not Beyonce beautiful, Halle Berry beautiful when they wake up. They a good 8 too.
Thank you. Thank you.
But even if Beyonce looking like she does, if she felt that she was a 5, guess what she portrays when she goes outside? 5.
5. And people will look at her as
I'm gonna look at you as a 5 because pretty soon you start looking like the way that you feel. When I was sick like a couple weeks ago, y'all was like, you with the robot. I was like, I ain't trying to look how I feel. I don't know who was watching that show that time. Shit. I don't know who was watching that show. But that's the thing. Like, you need to be able to walk into a room with absolute confidence that I'm working this room. I am who I am, and I'm good with who walks in, and I'm going to be better with who walks out. If you don't feel that, then you're not even going to get into a space where those type of men dwell, you know? Right. So she was like downing the average everyday dude because she's like, I think that, what did she say? And I don't want to be absolutely wrong here. She said something to the tune of, I don't think I'm, like she was alluding to that she might not be good enough for the 6-figure guy, but she was definitely better than the average dude. I was like,
no.
And she was like, but my body, like her face, she's saying that she's a 5, but she's like, but my body's good. Bitch, I can go buy a body.
Anybody can buy a body. It's cheap now.
Right. You can get that mug on a private plan.
Yep, that's true.
Which I'm about to do in January.
Okay, about to do.
About to go get me one. I'm gonna take this.
Baby, by February, I'm like, what's wrong with Jackie? Baby face gonna be small as hell. All this gonna be shoulders gonna be coming in. Show is. I sure am. Stay tuned.
I'm gonna take this 9.5 and 10 up here and elevate the rest of it to come up here.
Yeah. Gotta get it all the way even. Gotta be even.
But here's the thing, even when you do that, if you're not prepared for it and if you're not confident in what you are and who you are prior to making those sorts of physical changes in yourself, you will still portray yourself as a 5.
Oh, yes.
If you don't change your mind, no matter what kind of
that is
this you put lipstick on, any makeup that you put on, it doesn't matter. If you don't already see yourself as that bitch, no matter what you look like, you
not at all.
Your breast up here, you snatch your waist in, it doesn't matter. If you don't feel that way, then you won't be that way. So again, and it was about his tone. He was rough as 180 sandpaper. You hear me? Woo!
I can't wait to let's do it.
Oh, and he was like, but you're not listening. You're not listening. And I was like, and people were like, well, he shouldn't have said that. And it was, misogynistic. And I'm like, yeah, it was. He was harsh. But here's the thing. You asked that man's opinion.
Thank you.
Of you.
Yeah.
I don't give people an opportunity to give their opinion of me. Now, if you want to tell me, and you're just going to come up to me unsolicited and tell me what you think about me, guess what I'm about to do? Hold on. I'm going to tell you real quick. Hold on. I ain't asked for that. Okay? Going on about your business. I ain't asked you to tell me about me. Going on about your damn business. Because I will not ask you to tell me about me. I won't. And then I'm going to get defensive because I asked you, what do you think about me? What is your assessment of me? I wish I would. I don't need that type.
Nope. Don't be a no.
I don't need it. I don't need it. Yeah, talking about he's not a licensed therapist. She knew that when she called that man. He's not a counselor. She knew that when she called the man. That's just a man with strongest opinion and an even stronger voice.
Well,
that's the advice.
That was already who he was. I mean, I would think she probably had an idea of what she was dealing with from the jump because
apparently this man gives everybody the business. So I need to go and follow him on social media because I need to see him giving people the business, because the way he gave it to her, I'm gonna tell you, it warmed the cockles of my evil heart. It did. It's wrong for me to say that. And it's nothing against women or anything like that, but I'm just like, you glutton for punishment. And then you stayed on the line with him, like, hang up, sis. And I don't know if she was doing that just to see, if she could garner, some attention. I don't know what her motives were, but whatever they were, they backfired. She's got the attention, and she's got the ear of everyone right now, but yes, it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. So I will be posting that video on our Facebook page so that you'll be able to see that, because it's pretty rough. So all right. Okay. So let's continue on with the Central Park 5. Now, I had said that I was going to challenge myself to watch When They See Us. Mm-hmm. And I challenged myself to watch When They See Us. But if I tell you I am an epic failure, couldn't do it. However, I did watch the Central Park 5, which is the documentary that came out in 2012 by Ken Burns. Now, When They See Us came in on what, 2018 or 19?
19.
2019. Mm-hmm. Which was a 4-part Netflix series directed and written by Ave DuVernay. The Central Park 5 was the documentary by Ken Burns. And I don't know if you've ever seen a documentary by Ken Burns. He has the best documentaries I've ever seen. Prohibition, he had Prohibition, jazz, he had the Civil War.
I saw the Central 5. I saw some of that one, and it was really good, actually.
His treatment in documentaries is very unbiased and very clean, and he tells a great story. His images, his storytelling is just wonderful. But, however, having said that, watching the Central Park 5, which is about a 2-hour documentary, is still rough, because you are getting interviews with the 5 young men. So you're seeing the footage as they are arrested and they're giving their confessions, and then also as they're retelling their stories, in 2012 or 2011, 2012. And you can see the emotion and them reliving their stories, which is the reason why I couldn't watch the movie, because the movie was also going to add the drama and from things from their parents, and going to take that poetic license and give you the soundtrack and the setting and all. I can't do it. That is far too much emotion for me. But you did watch When They See Us.
It was hard. It was super duper hard, because like you said, it is the dramatics in there. It is the enhancement of music, because Ava's going to bring it. She's going to bring it because she wants you to feel every type of emotion that they feel in the process of going through this. So yes, I watched it. I bawled all 4 episodes.
I remember. I remember seeing you.
I was literally crying, going to Brandy's desk like, "Are you be gone?"
And I was like, Take that back over there. Take that back over there. Don't come over here.
It was rough. I have a son. It is rough to watch stuff like that.
So
it was brutal.
The story in itself is brutal. If you're not familiar, and I don't understand how anybody's not familiar with the story, but in April of 1989, I think it was April 19th. Apparently, there was a night of utter mayhem in Central Park that night. It was a group of about 20 or 30 boys from all over the city. They just converged on Central Park. Yusef, Raymond, Kevin, Antron, and Corey. They were in that group. Now, Corey Kevin and Yusef lived in the same building. They
Mm-hmm.
did not know Raymond. They did not know Antron. But they just ended up in this group. And these guys were, assaulting people, throwing rocks at people, assaulting a homeless guy, beating people up. And they were like, nah, this ain't us. We got to get the hell out of here. So there
Mm-hmm.
was all kinds of stuff. There were like 7 attacks that night, including the assault and rape of Trisha Melly. So there's like 7 attacks. The attacks are being reported. So the cops were called out to Central Park. And they're trying to get out of the park. Well, in the process of that, someone yells police. Everyone just kind of scatters and runs. Well, they are rounded up, Kevin and Raymond. And they just keep them at the Central Park police station for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And they're like, we're just going to give you what do they say? A family court ticket and we'll send you home.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, when they're about to be sent home, someone finds Trisha Melly in the reservoir, wherever she was, in a trench somewhere. So then they call and they're like, don't let them go. Don't let them go. Keep them there. Keep them there. So they keep them there. Raymond was what, 14 or 15?
Raymond was 14.
Raymond was about 14 or 15.
14.
Kevin wasn't much older than him. So they all range from ages of 14, 15, and then Corey was the oldest at 16 when the actual crime occurred. And they immediately start to badger them. So we found out about this woman and this rape. What do you know about this rape? So yeah, this woman gets raped. And they're like, what? They continue to interrogate them, these 14 and 15-year-olds, without a lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Without their parents. Mm-hmm.
They pit them against each other.
Yes, they did.
They asked Kevin, do you know this guy? He's like, no. And he's talking about Raymond. They go to Raymond. They show him a picture of Kevin. He's like, no, I don't know him. Never seen him. Well, it goes on that the police tell them, like, well, he said that you raped that chick.
Yeah. He said you did it.
And they're like, but I didn't do nothing. But in the middle of this, they're like, well, I'm going to get out of it because I just want to go home. Because that's what
they're telling them.
That's what they're giving them. Just give us this and you can go.
If you just say this, we'll let you go home. Just say this.
They pit them against each other. These guys give false confessions. They go and round up Yusef and Antron and Corey. When they go to get Yusef, he and Corey are together.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even looking for Corey.
Nope.
Corey is not even on their radar, but they tell him, just ride down with your friend, and when we let him go, you can come back home.
Literally.
So Corey Wise, who received, in the end, who did 13 years in an adult prison, 4 adult prisons, was not even someone that they were looking for.
Including, if I'm not mistaken, Rikers Island. If I'm not mistaken.
Started off at Rikers Island. And if you know anything about Rikers Island, it's probably the worst place besides Alcatraz that's ever been constructed. This is where Khalif Browder spent 3 years in solitary confinement for a backpack that he allegedly stole, that he never stole, and he was never formally charged or gone to court for stealing this backpack. He was released, and then not too long after, he committed suicide because of the trauma that he faced while in Rikers Island. Yeah. So this is the type of place that we're talking about. Also, this is the type of place that they are going to completely shut down within the next 10 years.
Yes.
Because it is too much. It's going to go the same way that Alcatraz went. So they tried Corey Wise and convict him as an adult because he's 16. But they weren't even looking for him. So they get a confession out of someone that they weren't even looking for.
Ain't that something?
They did these guys so damn wrong from the outset. The timelines didn't work because according to the timeline with the other victims in the park that night and where
Trisha, who was the rape victim, would have been at 9:20, between 9:20 and 10 o'clock. They were actually on the opposite end of
And
Central Park.
and Central Park is ginormous.
So when they were getting arrested, Trisha was being raped on another side of the park. So it's impossible that they could have done this. Prosecution knew that, and the police knew that because they're the ones who drew up the timelines. And the other victims, the other seven or eight or nine victims of various crimes that night, they had all called the police. So there was an established timeline of what happened and when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
There was also DNA found on the victim.
Didn't match any of them.
Nope. So there was an FBI DNA specialist. And he's like, it doesn't match. But Anna Lederer,
that's her.
PA, she's like, we need to do something. So she's like, we can still try them because maybe there's a sixth person that was never mentioned in any of their confessions. And when they were giving the confessions, of course, they were feeding them information. They did not know what the victim was wearing. They did not know where the victim was found. They were saying reservoir. The cops are like, no, what? No, they didn't know anything. Okay.
Corey Wise has a disability.
Yeah, he did. He did.
And I mean, first of all, like she said, they already realized things were a lot bad, and so they were like, "Look, we don't want no parts in this. We want to get away from her."
Mm-hmm.
And poor Corey, trying to be a good friend, got the worst. Just trying to be a good friend and make sure his friend was okay. He was pretty much trying to go down there and vouch for him, like, "Hey, no, he didn't do this.
Yeah, we were just together, so I'll just ride with you down there."
It literally went like this. He was wearing orange, was it? No. It was orange. Remember? Think about it. It was orange. If you think about it, it's orange. I'm not going to let you go unless you say orange. You have to say orange. If you don't say orange, you're going to be here forever. Say orange. And
they interrogated those boys for up to 30 hours with no food, no sleep, no anything. So you've got these teenage boys, not savvy at all with the legal system. Their parents aren't there. They just want to go home. You got the confessions out of them, and then you recorded the confessions, which was a common practice. Was that you would talk to them for hours and hours and hours and hours. Then after they signed a confession, then you would go and record it. So that's what they did. And even in the recorded confessions, you can hear Anna Lederer leading them. When she's talking to Corey, she's like, well, she stops him at some point and she says, well, I don't want you to say anything that you didn't do or you don't remember, but I just want to find out what you did that night and how you did it. Was there a weapon? Because we want to know how she got those wounds. And so he's like, no, there was no weapon. And then she's like, no, there had to be because, the wounds. And then so Corey's like, well, yeah. Yeah, and Antron picked up a rock and hit her.
Wasn't even a Corey, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember his interview, he literally kept getting it wrong every time. Every time.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell. I mean, they were like, no, it was this. Oh, okay, yeah, it was that. It literally went like that the whole interview. I was like, ain't nobody.
So between a corrupt police department, a corrupt DA's office, and poor legal counsel, they convict these guys. Youssef gets, their sentences could carry from 5 to 10 years. Youssef does 6 years and 8 months in juvenile detention. Released in 1996 on parole. Raymond Santana does 6 years and 8 months. He's released as well, but then he violates his parole, so he gets an additional 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Kevin did 7 years. Ancron he was sentenced to 5 to 10. He did 6 years. Corey was sentenced as an adult. He got 6 to 15 years. He did 13 years, starting in Rikers Island. Plot twist. 2 plot twists. There's a 6th guy, Stephen Lopez. Stephen Lopez is also picked up.
Oh, yeah.
Ironically, Stephen Lopez is convicted for the assault on a guy named Laughlin for mugging. He gets 1.5 to 4 years, which he does in juvenile detention. He's the only one who actually committed a crime, and he gets 1.5 years. The irony.
Yes.
That the one person that actually committed a crime that night basically walks. So in 2001, Corey had kept petitioning for different prisons because he started off at Rikers. I didn't watch the movie because I knew that he had gone to Rikers. I didn't even want to think about what happened to him in those prisons because criminals hate rapists.
Yes.
And everyone knew who these boys were. So I didn't want to see what
you don't want to see Corey's, because he had the whole last episode of the series, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about it.
I didn't want to watch.
It to me. I had nightmares. And I know people are thinking like, but it's just no. When you look on a larger scale, what I do is, because it's a true story of poor innocent babies, I put my kid there because he's an innocent son. Any kid can walk anywhere. And so when I put that in there and realize that this is somebody's baby, child, you talking about
a person who
beat up
to cause himself to be in this position.
Never even
asked. You have an entire system going against, putting their full force against innocence. You cannot possibly win. You have one of the richest men in the country, Donald Trump, taking out ads, editorial ads, in all the major newspapers in New York, and they should have sued his ass for slander. About their guilt and how they should bring back the death penalty in New York. So these are babies.
Yes. He said they need the death penalty.
And even after all these years, after exoneration and after those sentences were vacated, he's still like they're guilty. But we know what he does, so he's a non-issue.
Corey got treated so bad. Yes. God, that's why he kept transferring the abuse, the emotional, the mental, the physical abuse he went through. He's 16, scared. I'm talking scared out of his mind. And here you got people, because they think you're a rapist. And as a person who was a correction officer, let me tell you, that news, I didn't do it. I personally didn't do it. However, there are officers in there, before you hit the door, they letting you know, hey, number 1036, that nigga rape nigga, you know what I'm saying? He mess with kids. Oh, yeah? Yep. Before you know it, it's then spread, and it spreads
There's nothing you can do about that.
And when they walk in the door, I promise you, they know the rapist, and they're going to torture them. And that's why most of the time they have to be separated from the community, because if not,
they're gonna die a horrible death, or they're not going to die, and their existence is going to be horrible. In 2001, Corey had been transferred to Auburn State Correctional Facility, also in New York. He starts talking to this guy. This guy is like, "Y'all still here?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, why are you here? And Corey's like, "Well, what?" He was like, "Why are y'all actually got convicted for that?" Yeah. How y'all get convicted and I'm the one who did it?
He sure did.
How y'all get convicted and I'm the one who did it? So in 2002, Corey is released. Mateus Reyes confesses to the crime. Get this though. He was a serial rapist. He had committed several crimes in and out and around Central Park during that time. One of the detectives that was on the Central Park 5 case was also investigating one of the rapes committed by Mateus. He had the DNA profile of Mateus on both cases. You are handling both cases and you have the DNA profile of this guy and you don't run them. 2 days prior to Trisha being attacked, 2 days, Mateus had committed another rape. And the lady told authorities in the hospital that the guy had a scar or she'd scratched him on his face or something. Sure enough, he goes to the hospital. Hospitals are like, yeah, we saw this dude with a scratch on his face. So yeah, they don't bother to run that lead.
So let me just make sure I understand correct. 2 days prior, they were already looking for this name. This person.
He had committed a series of rapes prior to that, but 2 days before he committed a rape.
So the first choice wasn't to run him first. I didn't know that about him.
Never to make a connection between.
Wouldn't that just be natural?
A case that you already own of a serial rapist 2 days prior in the park with a scar on his face, because you remember they made a big deal about that scar on Kevin's face.
Yes.
The mark on Kevin's face, which was caused by a cop, but they made a big deal about that scar on his face because they knew that a rapist prior to that had a mark on his face, and that was Mateus.
Together.
And they did not
know that.
Connect the dots on that, and I have to think that they did that shit on purpose.
Of course,
because he would have been faceless at the point. You know, like, we don't know who this person is, but we got these guys.
And it makes you wonder, why were they so? Okay, I understand. Why was you so set on that though? Like, why you have this evidence? Obviously, you've been a cop long enough to know that your first reaction is to run this guy. Why were you still so set and now continuing with the boys being guilty? Why were you so set on that still continuing?
Because one thing that I've seen in a lot of these cases is that these cops are lazy. They want to make sure that they keep their record. And apparently the Manhattan murder squad was notorious. They wanted to keep their record clean. They wanted to keep a high turnover, success rate. And if we can make the narrative fit what we have, then that's what we'll do. And they know that they have the backing of the police department, the DA's office, the mayor's office, and then they happen to be brown people. Oh, nothing we need to do. Nothing that we need to do further, because we've already got suspects who we can make fit. Mm-hmm. And that's what they've done.
Molded. They already had the mold of what fits in.
We can just make this fit. No matter what, we can make this fit. And they were feeding the media, whatever the media had, information the media had, they got that from the police department. So they were creating the narrative of these guys. So there was really no way that they weren't going to get convicted. I'm sorry. There's no way that they weren't going to get convicted. You had 5 guys raping a white woman. Yes. And if you think about the climate in New York at the time in 1989, you're talking about the emergence of crack, heroin.
Yep.
They're trying. The New York is basically bankrupt almost at this time. So you've got all this money just coming in with the stock markets and everything. So you're trying to turn things around in New York. They're starting to prosecute the mafia. So Rudy Giuliani is at this time is the attorney general in New York. So he's trying to try all of these criminals. So yeah, they didn't stand a chance.
Nope.
They did not stand a chance. So again, so 2001, Mateus confesses. His confession is very matter of fact, very brutal. There's no emotion involved. He just says it. I mean, anybody who goes to the person convicted of a crime and says,
And tell him.
Like, and he never recanted. He never said, "Oh, I didn't say that." No, he was like,
No, he said
I did that.
Yeah, I did.
And he continued to commit crimes, and I think he killed someone. He continued to do that. That's why he was there. He continued to commit the crimes because y'all were too lazy and you wanted these boys to suffer. But again, like you said, why did you want them to suffer? What did they do?
No, what did they do? They're obviously, they knew they were all for a reputation. It just, for reputation.
But what is the title of Ave DuVernay's movie? When They See Us. That's all it takes. When they see us, there's already a story. There's already a narrative. We just need to put this square peg into this round hole. And if we have to, we will shave the sides and use the blood for lube. And damn what happens. Damn the fallout. Damn that you messed up these men's lives, because I can't imagine the nightmares and trauma that they still experience. And if you hear them talk about their experience, you can see in their faces that this is not something that is ever going to go away.
No.
I think the person that speaks about it in the most calm manner is Yusef.
Yeah.
You know, but when you look at Raymond Santana, Kevin, in the documentary from Ken Burns and Antron, you can only hear his voice. He doesn't want to be on camera. And then Corey. Like, I was watching the documentary and I was like, woof. Oh, I know I wasn't gonna be able to watch that movie because no. And I'm looking at
Corey doesn't even talk much.
No, he doesn't.
He says a few words.
That was one of the things that people said about him when he was a teenager, that he was a quiet kid. And he just, like, they didn't call any witnesses during the sentencing phase, which is where you can possibly sway the judge and the jury by character witnesses. The defense didn't call anybody. There were 2 trials. The first trial was Kevin, Yusef, and Raymond, and then the second trial, no, it wasn't Antron, but the second trial was Corey, and then Antron. Antron and Corey went to court together. So they did 2 trials. They didn't call anybody. It was the defense was
not a character witness, not nothing. They didn't want nobody.
Ineffective. One of the reporters that's in the documentary says that they did have an alternate defense, which was, if they were busy committing all these other crimes, how could they have committed a crime against Trisha? But they didn't bring that up.
Which is, it only makes sense. I mean, I think being on the side of another whole nother park while it's happening is enough to.
And the way that you can explain that and alibi that is if they were over there committing these 7 other attacks in the park on the other side of the park in a very concise, documented timeline, then they couldn't have possibly been over there. There was no physical evidence that they were there, that they did anything to her. It's awful. And I don't think that anybody can really know, unless they've been through something similar, what being falsely accused in that manner on that scale really feels like. Because I can tell you this, Jackie, you can tell me that I left the lights on. And if
Right.
I know that I turned those lights off, guess what I'm about to do? I'm about to fight you tooth and nail to prove that I did not leave the lights on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ever going to admit it because I didn't do it. And just the little things. I mean, as a child, I used to get, man, say, I'm so stubborn and so stuck on that. Like, I admit nothing. I admit absolutely nothing. If you didn't see me do it and you didn't touch me while I was doing it, I didn't do it. That's my stance on, like, well, I saw you do it. Did you say something to me? No. Then how'd you know it was me? Did you touch me? No. Then how did you know it was me? I am so big on, I will never admit to anything that I did not do. So to have an entire system, and this is just, on little things in my own house, but to be completely helpless against a legal system, I can't even imagine that. I cannot imagine that. And especially legal system based in racism here in this country, because I know it's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but it is not, because if I was innocent, I would not be arrested. If I was innocent, then my word would carry as much weight as the accuser.
Mm-hmm.
And then we duke it out in court, but it doesn't. You accuse a Black person, especially a Black man, of a crime, then the burden is on him to prove that he did not do it. Yeah. And I really believe that in crimes where there is an accuser, then my weight as the accused should carry the same until there's a jury or a judge that weighs and analyzes the evidence. I saw a case today, and I did post it to our Facebook page at BlackCoffeeCrime. A young man had an affair with his white teacher.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah.
A long affair with his white teacher. March of this year, she comes up pregnant. A couple of weeks ago in November, he's arrested for rape, assault, strangulation, assault to an unborn child, and he's arrested.
Make it make sense.
She was having sex with this young man while he was her student.
Full-fledged relationship. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Full-fledged relationship. However, he is in trouble. The student.
You know why he's in trouble? Because she about to drop that baby.
Yeah.
And when that baby comes out my complexion,
mixed.
She gonna have some explaining to do. So the way she can explain that is, he raped me and got me pregnant.
And I've been just holding it in all this time. Exactly what it is.
But if he raped you and got you pregnant, then why were you at his graduation all hooked up with him?
Thank God, hopefully a lot of people are going to be fighting about this, because I read that and I thought.
I was like, wow, we're about to record this show, continue the discussion about being falsely accused. This is the type of thing that we're talking about. Now, we are not in any way condoning assault, rape, or anything like that. But it's mighty, mighty suspicious. And I'm not saying that it's not a possibility that at any time during the relationship,
they didn't have a scuffle.
Not an assault. It's a possibility. I'm just wondering when.
It's a scuffle.
And you were having an affair with your student while he was your student.
Because now it's, oh, poor her.
Absolutely.
It's poor her. She a whole teacher out here in these streets, having a sexual relationship with a child. Because at the end of the day,
as a society, we treat a male teacher having sex with a female student Like that is just beyond the pale. You can't do it. String them up by by scrotum and all of that. But when it's a female teacher committing the same crime against a male student, it's kind of like, well, was she fine though? You don't do that. Sexual assault is sexual assault. And you damage that young man in the same way that a young woman is damaged.
Whether they want to admit it or not. That's right.
Don't do that. Because I promise you, if I had a son and it get around to me that a teacher or somebody was having,
but I'm
gonna schedule a meeting with her. I'm gonna make it seem like we're having a parent-teacher conference, and then we about to move every desk in that damn classroom. All of them.
Pretty much.
All of them. I don't listen. Let me tell you something. I don't mind writing letters to my family. I got good penmanship and a lot of words to use. Look, just send me some stamps because I'm about to whoop that bitch's ass. I'm
point blank period.
Because that is
point blank period. I will definitely do the time.
That I will protect my girl child. I will protect my man child.
The same way.
We cannot continue to think that Black males and brown males, even it's not even limited to that. We cannot continue to think that male children are able to navigate through sexual assault and forced sexual encounters. We can't continue that they can navigate simply because they're men.
No.
Because what happens is you damage them because now they have a different expectation of sex. Who's to say that these boys don't become sexually aggressive? They become sexually repressed so that when they do find and have a meaningful relationship, they don't know how to navigate that sexually. They're not sexually confident, or they're expecting things that are going to go a certain way. And that young girl who is just as naive as he is, or that he's supposed to be, doesn't know what to do with that. Doesn't know what to do with that kind of trauma. And then after things like this happen, we don't go get these boys counseling.
No,
these boys don't go to counseling. They get high fives and shit.
Mm-hmm. I see. Just mess with the teacher. I see.
You fine though. Don't do that.
Don't.
Care for your man child the same way that you care for your girl child.
Please.
Care for your man child. Because females have an expectation of protection.
Right.
They expect to be protected. But no one protects boys like that. We protect the boys after they've done something or after they've been accused of doing something. Then we want to rally around them. Maybe rally around your child before something happens.
It's so true.
Rally around them before something happens. And when you're falsely accused, there's nothing that you can do to prevent that because that's somebody else accusing you. But when these boys go out and they commit a crime, petty or felonious, if it's a felony, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that they don't have a responsibility for their actions, but listen. If you have validated your child prior to them walking out that door, and you know that they know that they have expectations when they come back in the door,
mm-hmm.
and they know that there's love in the house when they come back in the door.
Yeah.
They're a little less likely to do something that's going to
That's right.
Family. Now, I'm not going to say that the kids don't do shit because we all do it because we do stuff. But we do it knowing that if I get caught, I don't want to look in my mama's face. I don't want to look at my granny's face. I don't want to, because in my family, we talk about your ass for years. We don't forget. Be like, you remember that time? You be like, don't be talking. You be like, oh, don't sit her in there with the person.
Yeah. That's my family. Boy, I tell you, topic.
Yeah, people talk about
For a long time.
I stole a Snicker when I was 6. I'm 50, and you still talking about me stealing, because that carries with you, and your family's not gonna let that go. But what I'm saying is, if you rally around these kids prior to something happening to them,
especially like young Black boys,
yes, then you having sex with your teacher, I wish
beat them.
Because back in the day, when we still had those 50-foot telephone cords going all through the house, your mama was like, who these little gals on my phone after 10 o'clock? Because it's inappropriate for you to be on this phone. It's inappropriate for you to be shaking your ass in people's windows. I wish you would. If you don't,
sit your beat them.
That's when you don't even finish your sentence.
Yeah, well, whoop.
No. You don't get to. But the expectation is there. The expectation of the behavior is there. And again, this is not saying that anyone who is falsely accused of crime can help that, because that is about the accuser and then the system that supports the accuser. But there are some things that can be prevented because we don't put ourselves in a position like this kid with this teacher. Obviously, she's a predator. Obviously, she's a predator. And that's exactly what she is. She's a sexual predator. And I don't know what his relationship with his family is like. But, man, I'm going to tell you. I would have put on a balaclava and went and got
right here. Let me tell you a story of my son. This is a true story. My baby, JJ, was at school and he called us and he said, Mom, I need y'all to come get me because they are accused. An old white lady was accusing him of masturbating to her in front of her in the class. True story. Here my son is 14, 15. This old, and I'm not trying to we're talking an old lady, ugly old white lady, accusing my son because she felt something. Instead of her directing his behavior, he is a class clown. Still got good grades, but he's a class clown.
Wait, was the class in session when this supposedly happened?
It was after his SATs. They were just sitting, during. But you know what I'm saying, in the class.
So he took an SAT and wanted girl stop.
I told Jermaine, if you don't go up there, please don't let me go up there. Because if I go up there, when I hear my baby scared, like, it was a big deal. We had to fight the city for it. The school district. When I hear my baby crying, say, Mama, they trying to, babe. When I tell you, I saw red. I would go, because that kind of situation made me, I'm like, first of all, what made you think you were so fine that this 15-year-old decided to pull his little there's no way that I could possibly fathom that kind, because I first of all, I just want to know what made you think you were so fine that he in class would masturbate to you. What would make you think that? And if he didn't have such an amazing circle around him, if he didn't have such an amazing support system who was like, well, you know what, Garland, let's do it. Let's go GISD. He still would have that on his record because it's a sexual offense. It's something that would have carried through to him. It would have followed him through college. I was not playing.
He got into college with something like that on his record. Yeah. And that's the thing, that just like these young men in New York, the exonerated 5, they were pressured into taking, because they offered the first 3 boys a deal. And Yusef was like, nah, I'm not taking it. Like, because I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I'm not taking it. So they were like, well, none of us are taking it. You offer these guys because they have so much supposed evidence or whatever, and you offer them a deal. And most of the times these boys are just like, I just want to go home.
I just want to go home.
So if you give me 3 years, fine, I'll just do these 3 years and I'll go home. But what you don't realize is for the rest of your life, that carries with you. You cannot go back and fight a guilty plea. You can fight being wrongly convicted if you just write it out. But you pled guilty. Yep. You signed the paper to say, yeah, I did this. And you can talk until you're blue in the face. And you might be innocent. And the evidence will later prove that you're innocent, but it will always show on paper, on record, you committed this crime. But like you said, if you don't have that circle, I said, we're going to fight this with you. And those character witnesses says that, no, I've never seen this happen before.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Didn't get no character witnesses.
So one of the first cases that we did was the guy, Anthony, who killed the donut lady. Mm-hmm. Back in 1994? 94?
Something like that.
Well, he had a history of behaviors that when he did kill that lady, there was no way that anybody could say we didn't see this coming.
Right.
Because he had a documented history of such behaviors.
Yes, he did.
But when your child, people say, well, you don't know your child. I do know that y'all ain't never seen this shit before.
Right.
And he was here. She was this type of person. You guys would have seen this. It would have manifested before today.
I hate when people say that.
You don't know your child. I bet.
You know your child. Are you serious? Do you think my child would just up and choose today out of their whole existence to do this one thing?
My mom, to this day, can tell you what I will do and what I won't do. Somebody can come to her and say, well, Brandy did this, and she'd be like, she ain't did that. Or you can say, Brandy said that. She probably said that. Because she knows what is likely to come out. Well, anything is likely to come out of my mouth. But yeah. But yeah. There's not much that you can say that I will do. You know what I mean? Like, Brandy didn't do that. Brandy didn't steal. Brandy didn't lie to you. No, she didn't do that. Because everybody knows I ain't gonna steal nothing because I ain't going to jail. And I ain't gonna lie to you because I don't have enough invested in anybody to lie to you. And I don't care. Like, I don't care enough about you to lie to you.
True. That she really is.
So if I was accused of something and I'm on, you could go back to my elementary school teachers and they would say, no, she's stubborn. She wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do that. She would choose this. She would say this, but she definitely wouldn't do that because we all have patterns. We all have patterns, and you can't tell me that at 20 something somebody starts committing a certain kind of crime, or it's 14, 15, 16 that these kids have never had any trouble with the law or anything like that. They had never seen these boys before. And all of a sudden they commit this type of crime. And they were calling them like a wolf pack and that they were wilding. So basically now you're fitting into the stereotype that Black men are savages and sexual deviants. And they played upon the fear of white America. And again, you're going through the crack epidemic at the time, and heroin was still big on the streets of New York. And, you had gang violence. So they were really, playing on that fear of these savages running in packs in the streets. And they, at the time, Ed Koch was the mayor of New York. And he was in this documentary, he had some very scathing words to say about them. Now, after they were exonerated, then, you know, of course he changed his tune. But it wasn't even about the crimes that were being committed. It was more than just about the crimes that were being committed. It was more about the type of people these boys were. You didn't even know them. You know, they were quick to call these boys savages and all this, but you didn't even know them. You didn't talk to their parents. You didn't talk to their teachers. You didn't talk to their friends. They talked to no one to know who those 5 young men were. And what they would be losing by being convicted.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These mothers are going to lose their sons. Let's talk about somebody losing their child. Antron McCrae's dirty, low down, yellow belly, weak kneed fucking day. Yes. I'm sorry. Woo.
Weak, very weak, very weak. Which is why he feel the way he do about him. But you know, let's talk about it.
You threw your son
under the bus
to the wolves.
Yeah.
I don't know what they said to that man when they took him out of that room, but Antron said that his mom and daddy were in that room. And they took him out, and when they came back, his dad changed.
Yes.
He said, I had no protection and my father didn't do anything. He also said prior to this incident, his father was his hero.
Mm-hmm.
So can you imagine the absolute letdown that the person that's supposed to protect me, that I carry this man's name, his face, everything. He's supposed to go in there and stand strong and be like, you guys are not going to do my boy like this. And you sit down and you let these people roll over your son.
It's literally like, I'm not going to say it's manipulation. It wasn't manipulation to the father because it's not. You're grown men. They kids. And if my child tell me they didn't do something, I don't care what it is. I'm rolling with my kid. But for some odd reason, he wanted to plead. He literally wanted to, well, you know, we'll just say you did it. So, you know, we'll just get it over. You know, we'll just say you did it.
Did he have
He was close to his father. They were like, I just don't get it.
Did the father have a criminal record that they wanted to, you know, give him some time off or something like that?
He did have a criminal record.
Yeah, because he said that because excuse me, they go at the police station in their confession when the confession is being recorded, they're like, well, who are these people in here with you? What state your name? And so his two parents introduce themselves, and you see his father sitting back with this very calm, unaffected look on his face. And I'm like, but your boy is being accused of rape and assault, and you don't look upset. You are just sitting there. But again, Antron said that his father, when he first got down there, you know, was, you know, in his corner. And then when they took him out of that room and he came back, whatever they said to him, he changed. And he's like, I have no protection and my father didn't do anything.
It pretty much is. His dad was like, okay, well, you know what? If it's going to save me.
Have they spoken?
No. They did when he first got out, just maybe a few words here and there when I like catch up on words. That's it. He said he don't want to do it. Because, you know, he didn't even visit him. Despite his father doing that to him, he still wrote him and wanted him to see him and begged for him to come with the mom. Despite him doing that to him.
Because he still wanted him to be
still his hero.
He still wanted him to be his hero.
Still wanted his dad to be his hero. And his dad refused to come. Refused.
Raymond Santana's father said that day, Raymond wanted to hang out And he's like, don't hang out on the block because the block is hot. Go to the park. And he said that I sent my son to the park that day and I feel guilty. And he starts to like tear up because he's like, to him, had I not told him to go to the park, none of this would have happened. That's the father. Right. That's a father who feels the weight of all of that. And of course, Mr. Santana would have never known that this would have happened. But he said, Mr. McCray.
It's just, him being a parent. It's just when you're a parent, when anything bad happens to your child, you immediately feel guilt because you come up with a zillion possibilities that it could have prevented it. How you could have prevented it, even though it was not designed that way. There was no way that was going to happen. There's no way you're going to know that. But that's a natural, loving parent that cares about their child, who wants nothing but the best. That your natural reaction is, it's my fault. I should have did this. If I would have said, there's no way he would have known that. I should have just said no. I should have said no. Not thinking, trusting even though the block was hot, I assumed he let his child go because he trusted him
and his behavior. And he was right. All these parents were right to put their trust in the children because they didn't do anything.
Right, because they wanted to stop. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want no parts of it.
Do anything. They were uncomfortable with what was going on, which again, that goes to parenting. Because if I'm uncomfortable in this environment and with what people are doing, then that means I was raised right because this is not the way that we conduct ourselves. Mm-hmm. So, wow. I know that I will. I'm gonna task again myself to. Yeah. I can't make any promises about watching this. I can't.
I know you're not. So. I know. And I don't. You know what? I didn't. Even when you said it, I was like, "She ain't for what."
You didn't believe me.
Nope. Yeah. If you did, you ain't gonna get past the first one. I can tell you that. You ain't gonna get past the first hour.
I'm good. I'm gonna be straight.
I knew. I was like, "There's no way she can get."
I'm gonna be good. Now, in a couple of weeks, we will be doing talking about Move. Which in 1985, the Philadelphia Police Department bombed a compound in a regular Philadelphia city neighborhood. Several people and jailed the rest of them. There's a movie coming. I think it's HBO, probably not HBO, but it is on cable, called 40 Years a Prisoner. And it's following the journey of one of the guy whose parents were part of the Move group. And he was born in prison to his mother. And 40 years later, his parents are still in prison. So, What? 40 Years a Prisoner. I'll give you the details about what network that's going to be on. And we'll talk about Move. What that movement was all about, who the people were, and also that documentary. So we do thank you for joining us for our continued discussion about being falsely accused in the exonerated 5. So next week, I'm not sure what we're going to do. If we'll continue on this vein or we'll do something completely different. But we do thank you for joining us. You can always join us on YouTube and look at our previous episodes, on Instagram at Black Coffee and Crime, also Facebook Black Coffee and Crime, where we normally post interesting stories, things that are going on in the news, and also upcoming episode subjects. So you can join us there at any time. Send us messages, comments, whatever you want to send. You can also send us some coffee money at Black Coffee Crime on Cash App if you want to, but if you don't, that's fine too. You can still come. You can still have coffee with us. So thank you again, Jackie. We'll see you guys next week. So this episode will be on Tuesday, December 8th on our YouTube channel. And of course, I will put all of the link for the documentary on PBS. The Central Park 5. I'll put that in the show notes, and you can always go to Netflix to see When They See Us if you are one of the 7 people in the world who hasn't seen it like myself. Because I think there's only 7 of us. So again, thank you so much for joining us. As always, be safe, enjoy that second cup, and be blessed. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.